Part 3, the final chapter of this martial art video. So as I told you guys, in the 90s, MMA, Rec, Pride, UFC, none of those guys had my weight class. And they gave me very respectable emails. Way back then when email was a thing. You know, it wasn't no social medias like Facebook and MySpace and all that shit. That shit didn't really hit until like 2000. But back in the 90s, you know, before I turned 27, you know, when I was really, really capable of doing damage to people, they didn't have my weight class, as I said in the other video. So, you know, you go through a lot of things, and people are always going to call you a fake because you're not MMA, you're not UFC, none of that shit. But the people who have fought you be like, nah, don't fuck with that guy. You know, that guy's not as fake as you think he is. And that's pretty much my life right there. I never got the opportunities that everybody has now. And no one's really watching my YouTube channel except for my beautiful 67 followers that I have. So, you know, the truth of the matter is, the difference between me and everybody else who's famous right now is because you were given a golden opportunity, which I have never gotten. With acting, with fighting, none of that shit. I've never gotten it. Because most people look at me, psh, you're an ugly fucker, we don't want you here. Or, you don't have the weight class or the capability. I said, but you don't know if I got the capability because your ass won't give me a shot. You won't let me get right. It was the same thing with, we had regular tournaments around here, and if you didn't have a black belt, you couldn't enter the tournament. And if you weren't in a school, you could not enter the tournament. So the schools that had tournaments, or the school that hosted the tournaments, because they always hosted them at the CHS gym, they're like, well, you can watch, but you can't participate. Leave your $10 at the door. So, you know, you pay your $10. Sometimes they were free, but, you know, you could not, you couldn't participate without a belt. Yeah, you had to have a belt in some class or another. So if you were a weapons champion, you can compete on the floor with weapons, but you had to have a belt. Now, so if you had like a first degree white belt, so that'd be a white belt with a little yellow stash on it, a little patch or whatever the fuck it is, you could compete if you were doing weapons, you know. You could do the double chucks and all that other bullshit, and that would be great. If you were competing in contact sport, you could do that, but you had to have at least a second or a 7th degree yellow belt to do contact sports unless you were competing against white belts. Now, which means the white belts would compete, yellow belts, so on, so on, and so on. But I was never given those opportunities because, one, it pays to have money to be in schools. The school I was in at the time, the Inner Stairway, didn't have competitions. And we had freestyle sparring on Saturday, but we didn't have competitions, so we didn't compete against other schools or any of the other shit, so we never got into that stuff. Now, the Seven Tigers, they did have competitions. They hosted competitions, but it was to whatever groups of schools were in that little circle, which the Inner Stairway was not in that circle. So you can't compete if you're not allowed to compete. And I couldn't earn a belt to save my dick, so that pretty much ended my opportunities of competing, period. Because back in the 90s, not like today, where you don't need a belt. You don't need credentials. You know, you can just open up a fucking school. I know martial arts. I can open up a school tomorrow. That wasn't what I was taught. Because in the 90s, before a master in his life, he was the one who told me, you got to be a first degree black belt to teach in any school in Virginia. Now, I don't know how it works in America, but in Virginia, you had to be a first degree black belt to teach a martial art in Virginia. And I started looking for black belts to get taught, you know, to get past the test and all that shit. Then he said you had to be a 5th degree black belt to open up your own school. And after you get past a certain amount of black belts, you become dons and all this other bullshit. And I'm like, okay, that really don't make any damn sense to me because I've watched enough kung fu movies that once you get a high enough rank, you become a sensei or a sifu. So why do I need to keep excelling in all of these odd names that has nothing to do with martial arts? You know, say anything about why breaking a board, or breaking a brick, or a piece of drywall has anything to do with martial arts. I took martial arts for one particular purpose, to be a better fighter. That's it. I didn't take that shit for defending myself. I straight up took that shit to be a better fighter. Because as I said 2 videos ago, I've been fighting in the streets up 6 years old. And when you fight in the street, anything and everything goes. So you need to have anything and everything at your disposal. So from 7 to 10, I learned karate. I switched over to Kung Fu when I hit like 18, 19. But before that, I started taking Taekwondo. I started doing research about karate and Kung Fu and the minor difference of this is karate, no, karate chop, this is Kung Fu. Close on impact. Alright? And that also depends on if you're going northern or southern Shaolin. And you're going animals, or you're just going, katas. So everything has its base. And the thing about that was, I'm so confused running around trying to figure out how I can get a black belt that I missed out on all these loopholes. One of my kid brother, who's bigger than me now, and my kid sister, who has 3 kids of her own, they were taking self-defense at Venable. And this dude had a black belt in self-defense. And I walked over to him after he was done when they took their first break. I said, so, this is karate you teaching. But this school thing says it's self-defense. And he said, yeah, you don't have to have a black belt to teach self-defense. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you don't have to have a black belt to teach self-defense. I was like, well, they told me to open up a school I needed a 5th-degree black belt. And no one will test me so that I can get one. It's like, there's some loopholes. You can jump through a few loopholes. And I wish I would have remembered that when I was going around trying to get tested for black belts. I could have just taught self-defense. But I wanted to teach Kung Fu. I wanted to be specific with the style that I taught. I didn't want to be all over the place. Even though now MMA is all over the place. And it's the thing that everybody really wants to learn. And by God, you probably should learn it. You should be a dabbler in all martial arts. You shouldn't just be grounded to one style, which is probably the lesson that I needed to learn, which is why I do multiple styles. And I don't do a lot of multiple styles. I do enough of the multiple styles and just add it to my repertoire, because everything's going to change when you're actually in a fight. Because you can break down into this all you fucking want, or you can break down into the dragon or the tiger. You can do all that shit until somebody takes a swing at you. Because then everything you've been learning, out the window. Especially after you get hit in the mouth. So, therefore. But when I was younger, I went through so much trying to get a black belt that time just passed me by. And eventually I got tired of it. So now that I've been into the Army, I didn't think about before going to the Army that I could have went downtown and got my hands registered, because then I could have opened up a school, because my hands would be registered as lethal weapons. And I didn't think about that shit, because I didn't know I could do that. Because knowledge is power, and I didn't have the knowledge. It's just that simple. And now, there's lots of people going around opening up martial arts schools, and they don't have the credentials, but they open up martial arts schools. I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, well, damn, I could never get arrested opening up a martial arts school. What the fuck? So I'm really pissed off about that. But then I'm like, alright, so what do I need besides to be able to pay the building rent? And a lot of you are like, well, one, it does help if you are legitimately a martial artist. That would definitely help. But as far as like credentials and shit like that, your credentials is in your training. If you train somebody and they get their ass beat, you clearly didn't train them right. But that's not always true either, because you can train somebody right all you want. If they just can't fight, they just can't fight. It's just that simple, And then my policy on belts. I think that if you have to have a belt, if it's like a state mandate that all schools have to have belts, then my policy is this. You're going to fight for that shit. Simple as that. You're going to fight for that shit. And even if you lose, I'm probably still going to pass you. You know why? Because that heart to fight is what's going to help you win. Especially if you decide to get into MMA shit, like full-on professionally MMA shit. You're going to need somebody with the guts like me to tell you, no, we're going to fight for this belt. Because if you want this motherfucker, you're going to have to earn it. There's 2 ways to earn it. You can... That's with kid gloves. Or you can... Boom! You can earn that bitch with these motherfuckers the good way. And I figure if you do it that way, you got a better chance of understanding how you going to handle yourself in an actual fight versus... No, because katas are exercise to me. That's it. They ain't taught me shit with katas. Which is also why Mr. Ennis gave me a hard time, because I couldn't do katas to save my fucking life. So as I close out, I want you guys to understand this thing. When you are talking about another martial artist, when you are trying to delegitimize another martial artist, I said this before, I'll say it again. If you have now honestly, truly to God, went to that person's house and challenged them to a sparring match, even if y'all put on the gear to fight, if you have not done that, you should probably keep your mouth shut. And the most important thing, I don't give a damn who you are. Don't you ever, as long as there's breath in your body, take any of your opponents for granted. Don't underestimate the motherfuckers, because that will be the one to surprise you. And if you think that you can't be beat, that'll be the day that you will be beat. And I always tell people, because people are always telling me, oh, James, you think you can beat everybody? You're damn right I can. But there's a trick to that. There's a reason why I can. Because I know something that all of you don't know. Alright? I live in reality. And the reality of me being able to beat someone depends on if I can get through their defenses. I do pressure points. I train with pressure points all my damn life. I do where to hit, how to hit, what to hit, because that's what I was taught. Now, you may think that my shit's bullshit, and you're fine with that. That's your opinion, and that's great. But until you literally get in a match with me, and I prove it, it's a different ballgame. Now, here's how this works. We can get in boxing gloves, and you'll mop the floor of me every day. Because I'm not a boxer. I can street fight. We get in that goddamn kung fu ring. Or we get into a street fight where there's things in the environment that I can use to fuck your shit up. It's going to be a whole different world for you. And that's the thing about fighting. If you are a martial artist and your teacher did not teach you that you need to fight your fight, do not go off half-cocked trying to fight your enemy's fight, because you're bound to lose. Because if your enemy can lure you into his trap, you're dead. Simple as that. And then, as I close out, I'm going to tell you this because I haven't had this happen yet. But if it does happen, and I'm standing up to a guy and he turns to a cinder block and punches it and cracks it, I'm going to be impressed. I might be a little bit scared. But I'm not going to walk away. I say, okay, so you can break a cinder block. The cinder block clearly couldn't move and it clearly couldn't defend itself. Same thing with a brick, same thing with a board. Let's see what we can do. We start fighting. Because one of us is going to win, one of us is going to lose. But both of us want to survive. Keep that in mind. I'm James Williamson. Use Comfort Number 2. Be seeing